Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. I got excited earlier and circulated an excerpt from Hansard of an exchange that took place between Senator Fawcett and DFAT officials. I'd like to draw everyone's attention to Ms Chan's comments, and my question is, why did Ms Chan not share with the committee that the department had not just noticed a tweet on X, but had actually received a third-party note from the Taliban purporting to remove the Afghan ambassador to Australia?
Now, we're just circulating that document from earlier on,
Senator,
just for the benefit of the
you
witnesses.
may not have been in the room, but Senator Ghosh asked quite a few questions in relation to the Afghan embassy and the difficult situation that exists, and Ms Chan took him through in quite a bit of detail what we have done and our position. Chair, if obviously the Senator's entitled to ask questions, but I don't know if you had the opportunity to observe that questioning.
I was in another committee, but
yeah, no, that's fine.
I think my line of questioning is slightly different to Senator Ghosh's, but I'll be guided by the officials.
So what is the question?
So the question is that when Ms Chan basically... why did Ms Chan not share with the committee that the department had not only noticed a tweet on X, but had actually received a third-party note from the Taliban calling for the removal of the Afghan ambassador to Australia?
Michelle Chan, Deputy Secretary, South and Southeast Asia Group. Senator, we don't normally talk about correspondence between that we might receive privately as a foreign ministry.
Okay. Did the material sent to the department by the Taliban convey any statements from the Taliban's acting Prime Minister, Mullah Hassan Akhund? Have you received any correspondence from him? You don't have to talk about the details of it. It's just, have you received correspondence?
Well, Senator, well, first, we don't recognise the Taliban. Secondly, the content of the Taliban's position was announced publicly, and that's why Ms Chan referenced it previously and again this morning.
Okay. So can we rule out that any third-party note was even received from the Taliban? Are we ruling that out? That we haven't received anything?
Senator, I think the officer's answer was we don't usually disclose those diplomatic documents or communications, but I am trying to assist. What I'm saying to you is that the Taliban's position was publicly outlined. That's why Ms Chan referred to it.
Okay, I'm just curious because the Taliban did issue a TPN to 14 countries, including Australia, calling for their respective embassies and high commissions to be closed down. And yes, I acknowledge that as Australia, we don't see them as a legitimate authority. And I also note that Mullah Hassan is listed in the United Nations Security Council sanctions list, and that we wouldn't, go against that and consider the TPN, because obviously with Ms Chan, your comments were that it's an issue we're considering very closely in terms of the practical and legal implications, including for Afghan community here in Australia. And you say that it's a very complicated issue. So if you could elaborate on what's being done in that space, it would be much appreciated.
Happy to go through that, Senator. As the Foreign Minister has said, we do not regard the Taliban as the legitimate representatives of the Afghan people. We have no intention of accepting a Taliban-nominated diplomat. The Embassy of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan in Australia has continued to operate since the fall of Kabul in 2021. Following that ex post, we are aware that documents produced by the Afghanistan embassy have come under question in some international jurisdictions, and that has, of course, raised risks for those who rely on those documents. As noted, they do raise very practical implications, but also some complex legal issues. The government's overriding focus is on the Australian Afghan community, which is why in November last year, then Assistant Foreign Minister Watts and Assistant Minister Hill undertook consultations on these very complex legal and practical issues with members of the Afghan community in Australia. Ambassador Waisi did attend that meeting. We understand that the embassy has ceased its document services. However, the Australian government is strongly committed to supporting, where possible, the Afghan people in Australia. I outlined 3 examples of that earlier today. The Australian Passport Office, for example, continues to provide notarial and passport services for eligible Afghan nationals. DFAT continues to advise do not travel to Afghanistan owing to the very high risk to travellers there. And Afghan nationals seeking to lodge Australian visa or citizenship applications can continue to contact the Home Affairs Visa Helpline or online contact form if they are unable to source the usual required documentation. So we do value our really close cooperation and ongoing contact with Ambassador Waisi. We appreciate all he's done to support his community, and we'll continue to work with him during this difficult period, recognising that the current situation is not viable for the embassy in perpetuity, given these complex legal and practical issues.
So does that mean that we would be anticipating the closure of the embassy sometime soon?
These are matters for the embassy, Senator.
So, but there hasn't been any direction by DFAT or the government for the embassy to be closed?
There's been no direction to close the embassy by the Australian government.
Is there any intention from the government or DFAT to have the embassy closed?
Again, this is a matter for the embassy. The Australian government can't direct an embassy to close.
Okay. Just one final question. Can the department clarify the Australian government's current position on the legal and diplomatic status of the embassy of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan in Canberra, including its recognition under the Vienna Convention?
Yes, Senator. The embassy remains operational. The Chancery at Deakin remains the mission's recognised premises under the Vienna Convention. Ambassador Waisi remains the accredited ambassador under the Vienna Convention.
Well, let's hope that they continue the work that they're doing and providing the support to many community members here. Appreciate it. Thank you.